Thank you, Nathaniel and Barry. Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation at Shelter Rock. I'm the Reverend Dr. Natalie Fenimore. I serve as minister at this congregation along with the Reverend David Carl Olson and the Reverend Jay Brooks. Our worship associate today is Ms. Elaine Peters. So, no matter where you are on your spiritual journey, you are welcomed into this community today. Please visit our website or meet a member of the congregation at our welcome desk out in the lobby to learn more about Unitarian Universalism and this congregation. Now, in this season, we have many holiday happenings on our calendar. Please pick from that list what fills your heart and your soul. It is not intended to add another thing to your to-do list, but to enrich the experience of this season. This coming Friday, December 9th, there is Soulful Sundown Worship on Friday evening at 7:30, and a free coffee house follows with Lucy Kaplansky as our featured artist. Next Sunday, December 11th, hard to believe, but it will already be December 11th next Sunday. We will have our in-person Messiah Sing back here in this room at 2 p.m. Yes, and I want to say that while it's great as a musical event, and I invite you all to come, and it's a great community offering, it also represents how we have stayed together as a community, how we have sung together and listened to one another and been together in our hearts this whole time. And now we can be together and sing in person. You're also invited to a couple of special events today after the service. Join the Religious Education Family Holiday Decorating Party at 12:30 in the social hall. And stop by the art gallery to see the opening of the children's art exhibit. It is glorious. Please also join the land management team at 1 p.m. in the main lobby for an update of their proposed plan for this, our glorious property. And then take a walk on our beautiful grounds. It's a great opportunity. Now, also, when you're out in the lobby, stop by the table and give a donation for holiday meals, which are sponsored by our Social Justice Committee. As you may know, inflation being what it is, the cost of holiday meals is higher than it was last year and for many years in the past. And so we need a little extra donation in order to get to serve people who are hungry in this season. Immediately after the service, you can continue to enjoy fellowship at our lunch in the social hall and be part of our online coffee hour for those of you who are not here in person. So many ways to stay together. So let us now worship together, beginning with these words from Israel Zagwell. Come into the circle of love and justice. Come into the community of mercy, of holiness, and health. Come, and you shall know peace and joy.
Each Sunday, we light the chalice of our religious heritage. We do this for our ancestors who taught us through their various religious traditions, and by their actions for justice and hope. We do this for our children who are learning the traditions we teach and who learn more from our actions than our words. We do this for ourselves, so that we are inspired to remember our beginnings, reflect on who we are now, and spread our wings as we understand who we seek to become. Please rise in body or spirit for our words of affirmation. Love is the doctrine of this congregation. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve human need. This do we affirm and covenant with each other. Please remain standing now and put on your mask to sing our song of affirmation. You may be seated. Morning poem by Mary Oliver. Every morning the world is created under the orange sticks of the sun. The heaped ashes of the night turn into leaves again and fasten themselves to the high branches and the ponds, which appear like black cloth on which we are painted islands of summer lilies. If it is in your nature to be happy, you will swim away along the soft trails for hours, your imagination alighting everywhere. And if your spirit carries within it the thorn that is heavier than lead, if it's all you can do to keep on trudging, there's still, somewhere deep within you, a beast shouting that the earth is exactly what it wanted. Each pond with its blazing lilies is a prayer heard and answered lavishly every morning. Whether or not you have ever dared to be happy, whether or not you have ever dared to pray. Now, please rise again in body and spirit and wear a mask to sing hymn number 131, Love Will Guide Us. That was well done. Each month, we make donations to organizations which help us to live out our Unitarian Universalist principles in the world. This month, we will make donations to two causes where there is an immediate need: North Shore Soup Kitchen and Aid Center of Queens County. The North Shore Soup Kitchen is a not-for-profit, volunteer-based organization established in 1989 to feed the hungry in the Glen Cove area. It is staffed by more than 100 volunteers who cook, serve, and clean up after meals. Since 1986, the AIDS Center for Queens County has grown to become the largest provider of HIV/AIDS services in the borough of Queens, serving 10,000 HIV clients and 30,000 community residents in 5 sites. Please make contributions on our website or through PayPal or by text message. If you are on site, the donations box is outside as you leave the worship room. Please give from your hearts what you can.
I know there are so many calls on you to donate this time of year, but I hope that you can recognize our connection to these organizations and how they serve people here who we will know, who are in our communities, and that you will give generously to them. I now once again ask you to rise in body or spirit and wear a mask when singing hymn number 1053, How Could Anyone? Thank you. Everyone's in really good voice today. It's wonderful. So now I'd like us to enter into a time of meditation or prayer. So take a deep breath, really deep breath. Let it out very, very slowly, very slowly. You might move it around in your belly. Feel it all in your body and let it out very intentionally, slowly. Pause. Feel what you're feeling now. So often, We are asked to love. But what are we required to do to demonstrate love? I offer for our reflection these words from Eusebius, a Greek Christian leader who died in the year 500 AD. He said, "May I be no one's enemy, and may I be the friend of that which is eternal and abides. May I wish for every person's happiness and envy none. May I never rejoice in the ill fortune of one who has wronged me. May I, to the extent of my power, give needful help to all who are in want. May I never fail a friend. May I respect myself. May I always keep tame that which rages in me. May I accustom myself to be gentle and never angry with others because of circumstances. May I know good people and follow in their footsteps. I ask that we hear today these words from centuries ago and recognize their relevance to us today. That we open our hearts to love. May we live our life with acts of love, of wondrous, wondrous love. May it be so. Again, breathe deeply. Exhale slowly. Pause. Be present here in the love of these people, in this time, in this place. Wondrous love. In this season, as we approach both Hanukkah and Christmas and solstice and so much more, wishes for a world of joy and love are all around us. We long for the very messages we send in cards and emails, and these days most probably to one another on Facebook. We want happy holidays. We want joy to the world. We cry out for peace on earth to come true, to be possible. We want to live in a world where we do love one another. But it is hard. It is hard given the unyielding spikes of hatred and violence in this world. It is almost impossible to believe in the possibility of a world of love. We may indeed find it impossible if we only think of love as a feeling, then it is impossible. But if we can reimagine love as an action, a set of actions, the way we are with one another, then love in the world is a possibility. Peace and justice in the world can be a reality. So, in the well-loved, well-told story, the Rabbi Jesus is asked by a lawyer, remember that, by a lawyer, "What shall I do to inherit eternal life?" The answer is, love God and your neighbor as yourself. And the lawyer follows up and asks Jesus, "And who is my neighbor?" Great follow-up question. Jesus then tells the story of the Good Samaritan, a perceived enemy of Jews, helping the injured Jew while all the other Jews don't stop to help. So Jesus' shorthand answer is, of course, your neighbor is probably someone you don't notice, you don't care about, you don't think too much about, someone you are afraid of or ignorant about or feel separated from or judge harshly or. Because it seemed that to Jesus, it might be that anyone and everyone could be your neighbor. That was the rabbi's lesson. That wondrous love might come and find you and connect with you in ways which you have ceased to imagine. So imagine it. That was the rabbi's lesson. Imagine it. And what of love? Loving your neighbor. In the story of the Good Samaritan, the example is to stop and notice the hurt of another and help them out. In very concrete ways, very specific, hands-on, everyday ways. Not praying for manna from heaven. Give them food. Give them housing. Give them care. Do what is actually within your ability to do. In the Jewish rabbinical tradition, Rabbi Hillel was challenged to recite the entire Jewish law while standing on one foot. He said he wasn't really that balanced, but he did it because he said, "What is hateful to you, you shall not do to your neighbor." This is the entire law, and the rest is but commentary. He echoed the words of the book of Leviticus, "Love your neighbor as yourself," which is a core commandment in Judaism. The Jewish community of Jesus' upbringing heard this call to value yourself as a child of God, and then to extend that love of self to others, to understand that we are all born of one creation. If you hate a person, you hate the mirror version of yourself. Love is giving without expecting to take, without expectation of reward or advantage. Love is eliminating otherness. The idea of love is made manifest in acts of love. The idea of love cannot be made manifest as an idea alone. What is the relationship of universalism and Unitarian Universalism to a theology of love? Now, over the last almost 3 years, the Unitarian Universalist Association has engaged in a review of the principles and purposes of our association. The principles and purposes of the Unitarian Universalist Association, the UUA, are found in Article II of the bylaws because, again, lawyers were involved. And the group leading the review of the principles and purposes is called the Article II Commission, because it's Article II in the bylaws they're looking at. It's very confusing. This review happens about every 15 years or so because it's mandated, again, in the bylaws. But it does represent a deeper, non-legalistic, theological way of understanding who we are as Unitarian Universalists. It represents our understanding that we are a living faith tradition that needs to consider its relevance on a regular basis. The UU principles are not a creedal statement. That is, the principles are not really a statement that we are called to memorize and recite as our common statement of belief, which we all pledge to. There's always been, and I hope always will be, open discussion, reflection, individual and communal interpretation of what we believe, of what our principles and purposes are, what our covenant is with one another. We are actively challenging our relevance all the time, because if we don't, we will cease to be relevant. In past times, the principles have had language modified and edited. Depending on your point of view, you may have thought the principles were more humanistic or scientific at some points, more spiritual at other times, more sexist at some times than other times, more theist than sometimes than other times. The principles have expanded beyond any exclusive Jewish or Christian context in which they were created in 1960. The General Assembly voted to adopt the UU principles and sources in 1960, 1984, and 1995. So here we are, 2022. Individual congregations have added an 8th principle in the last few years that declares our anti-racist intentions clearly. It's called the 8th principle, but actually, you may not have noticed this, but none of our principles are numbered. We covenant to affirm and promote these things. They are not numbered. There's no first place or last place in them. But it is true that we've gotten accustomed to the principles as we are. We recite them, we memorize them, we number them. We prioritize them. We use this language to explain to ourselves and to the world who we are as a community of faith. So it's a little rattling to think that they were never set in stone or meant to be. The UUA Article II Commission is offering a new statement of purpose, values, and covenant instead of principles. And it says, the Unitarian Universalist Association shall devote its resources to and exercise its organizational powers for religious, educational, and humanitarian purpose. Its primary purpose is to equip congregations for vital ministry, to support and train leaders, both lay and professional, to heal historic inequities, and to advance our Unitarian Universalist values in the world. We will transform the world by our liberating love. Love is the enduring force which holds us together. As Unitarian Universalists in religious community, we covenant, congregation to congregation, and through our association, to support and assist each other in engaging our ministries. We draw from our heritages of freedom and reason, hope and courage, building on the foundation of love. Building on the foundation of love. Can you put up the slide, please? This is the model which we are asked to consider. Love inspires and powers the passion with which we embody our values. Inseparable from one another, these shared values are pluralism, evolution, transformation, justice, generosity, equity, interdependency. This graphic, this circle with love at the center, represents this vision of love as central and enduring force which holds us as Unitarians and Universalists, which holds us together. And the shared values points us to the acts of love which make real our values and covenant. We aren't just saying that we are here to love one another. This is saying that these are the ways in which we demonstrate our love. I'm not going to say anything about how people should think or eventually will vote or should vote about this review and renewal process of our principles and purposes. I know that for many, it has come to their attention very suddenly, and maybe it's just coming to your attention right now, this moment. I understand that there has been a little distraction, a small matter of a pandemic. And there continues to be a pandemic, actually. And so you've had other things to concentrate on. This community has had other things to concentrate on. Actually, this community has been trying to figure out how to live out its love for one another in the midst of all of these events of these last few years. And anyway, most people are not among those who eat and drink institutional process and governance and bylaws and such anyway. But still, this does matter. It does warrant your attention. What I'm saying, what I'm asking, is that you take some time between now and June 2023, when the principles and purposes will be discussed at our General Assembly in Pittsburgh, and then between June 2023 and June 2024, when there will be a final vote on these proposed changes. Pay attention, be part of the conversation. Take some time to think about this. In reading this statement and seeing this graphic, how does it make you think? How does it make you feel? There are copies of the full proposal in the lobby and online, and there will be additional congregational discussions about it. So whether or not you agree with the changes to the principles, and of course there will be much debate and edits of words, no matter what wording comes down to in the end, I'm struck with wondering where our faith tradition comes down in the end on the centrality of love. Where does love fit into our theology? Where does love fit in this congregation and in our lives, both here and out of the world? Do you believe that love is the enduring force which holds us together, or not? Do you want love to be the enduring force which holds us together? Do you want that or not? And if you do, how do you turn that idea, the idea of love, into acts of love? One of my favorite hymns, which I entitled this sermon, is "What Wondrous Love Is This?" It's an old Quaker hymn. Now, the Quakers are thought of today as a small, liberal, Christian peace church, gentle folk and all. But in their beginning in the 17th century, in England, the religion was outlawed and its members persecuted and sent to prison. They believed in each person's inner light, each person's ability to manifest God. Each person, every person equally. That was a threat to a hierarchical society. How can you be king over other people if they shared the same light of God as you? So the Quakers went to prison and died for that belief, and were exiled here and founded Pennsylvania. So when I hear their hymn, I hear people determined to push away anger, hate, and despair. A people determined to bring to life a faith of loving kindness, even when love was not shown to them. Their Christian meditative practice is so much like a Buddhist meditation practice. It contains this mystical quality that you find in so many faith traditions, this idea that there is strength and force that is found in quiet and stillness. This is not passive love, but a love that demands truth and justice and works for it. A love that sees a neighbor in need and rushes to help. A love that includes power and strength and determination. Historically, Unitarian Universalists have known this wondrous and liberating love. We've known it when Thoreau practiced civil disobedience. We've known it when James Reeb and Viola Luiso died, securing the voting rights of Black people in the 1960s. We've known it here when the VEACH program was birthed in this congregation to support social change and justice in this country for people we don't even know. This is a wondrous love, like the love that business owners had when they stretched their extension cords from the electrical outlets in their shops to sidewalk refrigerators during the pandemic so that people could get food. This love filled UUCSR's Board of Trustees when they provided grants to local community groups working to support families during the pandemic. This is the love that enabled the leaders of this country to finally see that they could use the child tax credit to lift 3 million children out of poverty last year. We, as individuals and as a community, did these things. We gave without asking what's in it for me. We gave because we could give, just because we recognized that we could give, we gave. And it was wonderful. Even in the midst of all the hard times of the last 2 years, there were some things that were wonderful. Can we find a way to continue to explore our ability to know and live into the centrality of love? To perform acts of love which hold us together. May ours be always a community of such wondrous love. Please rise in body or spirit and wear a mask as we sing our closing hymn, What Wondrous Love. And in closing, these words of Reinhold Niebuhr: "Nothing worth doing is completed in our lifetime. Therefore, we are saved by hope. Nothing true or beautiful or good makes complete sense in any immediate context of history. Therefore, we are saved by faith. Nothing we do, however virtuous, can be accomplished alone. Therefore, we are saved by love. No virtuous act is quite as virtuous from the standpoint of our friend or foe as from our own. Therefore, we are saved by the final form of love, which is forgiveness. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.